Well, the underdog for this week, for this month, actually, I should say, it's Teimour Radjabov, and the reason I decided to pick him, yeah, I see you're looking at me. Why is such a strong grandmaster? But we are going back in time
Oh,
because I felt sorry for Radjabov. He was playing in the European Team Championship, and he had a very tough time.
one of the
Um,
worst times I've ever seen him, actually. Yeah. I thought
he,
like
he,
he's
he,
always
he,
good.
he was really suffering, and actually in my Fast and Furious show, he got completely crushed against the Greek grandmaster in only 19 moves. So
Oh
that
no.
that was really painful. I mean, not only 19 moves. The Greek grandmaster Theodore, he came very well prepared and crushed a super grandmaster without spending any time. That's such a painful feeling. And then I was thinking, okay, Radjabov, he used to be one of the very best in the world, and I remember he's around my age. I think he's 1 year older than me.
Mhm.
He played in 2003 in the Linares tournament against Garry Kasparov, and that was a very famous game. So we are going back 20 years in time,
All
and
right.
we are going to have a look at how Radjabov played against Garry Kasparov. They are both from the city of Baku, Azerbaijan. And Radjabov at the time was only 15 years old,
My goodness.
rated 26-24, and Kasparov was almost at his peak.
Yeah.
His peak rating was 28-51. When he played in Linares against Radjabov, he was 28-47.
Oh.
And I don't think many people predicted a win for Radjabov in this game. But I would like to have a look how that exactly happened because it was a very interesting game.
All right.
So
But Radjabov was black in this case, even, yeah?
he was black. He's playing with
Yeah.
the black pieces. So what do you think? I better flip the board.
Yeah, flip the
Actually,
board. Yeah, let's
let's
look at
let's
from
do
the
that. So we are looking at Radjabov's from Radjabov's perspective. It's the French opening, which he mainly played at that time. Later, he played other openings as well. But as a young teenager, he really liked these French structures. So
Yeah.
let's say the first 10 moves or so, it's kind of standard theory in the classical Steinitz variation.
It's a good
So
advertisement for the French in this case, yeah.
yeah. Well, it's a very interesting opening if you want to play for a win. And nowadays, I mean, engines are always saying that white is a little bit better because of the space advantage,
Oh,
but there's a lot of play in the position. As well, in this case, black is advancing its pawns on the queen side, so definitely he's looking for play there.
mhm.
But whenever the other side of the board gets opened, black may also get some chances there. Kasparov played 92,
Mhm.
and here Radjabov releases the tension. He advances the pawn to c4. Now, in general, I don't think that's the best idea in most of French structures. It's better to put more pressure against the pawn on d4. But if we go back one move, we see that white's pieces, they are focusing on the d4 square. So if you do take on d4, white can just recapture with a piece and maintain a nice grip on that square. So, okay, black advances the pawn to c4. So center is closed. And Kasparov says, okay, I'm going all in here with the move g4. He's
Beautiful.
looking for ways to open up the king side based on the pawn break f5. And well, there are ideas for black to expand on the queen side himself here with a5 and b4, and you can prepare it in many different ways. But the move played by Radjabov makes sense. He goes for h5 with the idea that h3 it's not really possible because of h takes g4, and you cannot recapture because the rook on h1 is unprotected.
Sure.
Advancing the pawn to g5 is also not a good idea because of g6, and white can never open up the king side any longer.
Huh. Well, that
So
that didn't work well. Ah, okay, but it didn't happen. Okay.
yeah, it didn't happen. So the best move here is g takes h5.
Mhm.
White captures the pawn, rook recaptures, and now knight g3. Attacking the rook. The rook goes back, and Kasparov continues with a plan of playing f5. So it looks like very logical way of playing. Just the only thing which surprises me for both sides is that they haven't castled yet. And that's interesting because both sides are making a lot of pawn moves, and it's not really clear where both kings are going. Because on one hand, black wants to attack on the queen side, so castling king side would then be a logical option, but the files are already open on that side of the board, so the king doesn't want to go there. And if you castle queen side in the other direction, well, it's also not that easy to conduct an attack any longer if the king is on that side of the board. And basically the same counts for white. So it's an interesting battle in which both sides refrain from castling immediately. Black captures the pawn on f5.
Oh,
that's maybe coming as a surprise, but it's a very concrete idea because white has to recapture the pawn. And now, beautiful move, knight coming to f6.
Okay.
So the idea is that if you take the knight, the bishop can be released. And usually this is a bad bishop in the French, the light squared bishop. But here, the bishop is coming to life and it's fantastically placed, can even be posted on e4. So things are looking good. And therefore, white better does something about that hanging knight on f5. Knight g3 played. And now, of course, the knight is still hanging, but the knight is on its way to g4. Intending to catch this bishop. So bishop comes to f4. And now the bishop comes to e6. So the bishop replaces the pawn. It's cementing the center again. And, well, black looks in reasonable shape here. White goes for the move c3, strengthening the pawn formation. Bishop e7 was played. And now the knight comes to g5. So here, things... Yeah, sorry?
No, but I'm just like, what move is it now?
19.
It's the 19th move, and neither of the kings has castled, and both still have chances to castle in either direction, which is very funny. So this is also a little bit of a showdown, which is funny.
Yeah. Actually, at this point, Radjabov decided to make a move with his king, just to castle queenside here.
I see.
So he eventually decides to connect the rooks, which is a good strategy. But white still has to decide what he's going to do with its king. First, knight takes e6 was played. F takes e6, and the bishop comes to e2. So what white has done here is trading off the knight for the bishop. Normally, black is very happy to get rid of that light squared bishop, but here white still has a space advantage and the bishop pair. And of course, he's threatening to take the knight on g4. So here we come at the most exciting moment of the game. Well, there are more exciting moments to come, but this is definitely a spectacular moment which goes into the history books. There are various possibilities. First of all, black got to do something about the knight. But if you go back with a knight to h6, there are plenty of reasonable moves, including the move castling kingside. That's not a strange idea here. Because what white is going to do is that despite missing these pawns in front of its king, there are plans to bring the rooks to the f-file, and the king is relatively well defended in that case. And since the center is closed, the other pieces on the queen side, they are no longer really able to hit the white king. So that's something Radjabov didn't really fancy. If you take the pawn on h2, let's say rook takes h2, knight takes h2, you're winning a pawn, but your knight is stranded now. And after something like king f2, the other rook will come over, and I'm not sure black will see its knight returning into play. So what did Radjabov have in mind here? That's absolutely insane. It's the move knight g takes e5.
Okay, everybody, hold your breath. What is happening right now?
you should have warned Kasparov at this point. I think he probably didn't see this move coming. It's a remarkable idea, even though in the French, sacrificing a knight for the white central pawns, it's a typical theme. One of the ideas is that after d takes e5, you're going to play the move d4, and black's pieces are coming to life here. And well, things are are very dangerous because the d file will get opened. You can put a bishop on c5. Let me show you one idea. If you, let's say, castle queenside here to get your king into safety, there is this move, g5. Attacking the bishop.
It gets weirder.
The bishop cannot really go anywhere. If black regains the piece, it's just a wonderful game for black. If you do take on g5, the key idea is now to take on c3, to attack the queen in various ways. The queen also has this defensive task of supporting the bishop. You cannot take on c3 because of bishop takes g5 with check, and black is having a devastating attack.
Now I see, yeah.
And well, if you move the queen away to keep the bishop defended, it's bishop g5, queen takes g5, and now, despite being a piece down, black has a monstrous attack here with the move b4. These pawns will be eliminated very soon. The queen will come in with very strong mating threats. For instance, if white plays a careless move, b takes c3, b takes c3, it's just mate on the next move. White's extra piece is absolutely worthless. So you get an idea what black is playing for. And okay, in hindsight, a better idea for white is to trade off an extra piece by recapturing with the bishop. So that after knight takes e5, d takes e5, okay, black got to prove himself here. Still, probably the best move is now, because white is missing its dark squared bishop, trying to infiltrate with your own dark squared bishop with the move bishop c5. So the point is that if you castle queenside here, it's bishop e3 and you win the queen. So that's not possible. But anyway, here you can feel the compensation for the piece, because bishop will come to e3. It keeps the king in the center. Next move probably is going to be something like d4. And you have some sort of long-term compensation for the piece, as white's king cannot escape from the center. I'm not sure what both players have been calculating, but I can feel that if I would be playing here with white, I would feel under pressure for sure. That's it's practically very unpleasant to face the queen, bishop, and rook, and probably the other rook later on as well, coming to your king. And therefore, Kasparov decided not to accept the piece sacrifice. He declined it with the move queen e3, attacking the knight on e5 one more time. But now the knight went back to d7.
Okay.
And queen takes e6. That was his idea. So, material speaking, it's still even, but there followed bishop h4. And I think that's a good move, because well, the king is still stuck in the center, and the knight is pinned, and the e file is open. So black will put a rook there very soon. And apparently, the machine nowadays, it says that white is still better if you just capture the pawn on d5. But I think that Kasparov probably even didn't consider it, because there are all sorts of discovered attacks, like a knight coming to e5, attacking the queen with tempo. Maybe the rook can even come first to e8, and you still got to solve your problem regarding your king's safety. And it's not only the king, right? It's when your king is stuck in the center, it usually means that the two other rooks, they are still out of play, and that's the case here as well. Anyway, so this didn't happen. Kasparov played queen g4. He went back with the queen, stepping out from the e file. But now Radjabov plays in a very impressive manner, as he continues with g5, attacking the bishop. So if bishop takes pawn, it's rook g8. And the bishop is pinned, so black is winning material. That's not possible for white. So white went back with the bishop to d2. But now rook d8. The rook has nothing to do on the d file any longer. Now it comes to the e file to pin the bishop on e2. And now finally, move 26, white does something about its king. Castling queenside was played here. And now, can you see an idea how black can find ways to launch a sort of an attack against the white king still.
Yes, because, so for you at home, maybe think about it yourself. What could be an interesting idea here? This is like a little tactic. And if you're in a similar situation like this, then yeah, this might be helpful to think about those ideas. So I'm immediately looking, of course, about to b4, maybe with the help of a5 before b4. And then the knight can yummily take on d4.
It's an interesting idea, but once you go for such a plan, you're also further opening up your own king's position. It's one idea, but very often try to find out also if you can see other ways of continuing your attack against the opponent's king.
Okie dokie. So, yeah, if you, by the way, check out the tactic and training boosters of Robert Ris, because these are some very similar motives and ideas of how you can tackle certain chess positions. At the moment, I'm looking at yours, and I'm fascinated, and I'm quite addicted to it because it's so much fun to solve those tough nuts. Now, well, of course, then there's...
I'm going to give you a bit of help. Try to look at his king.
Yeah.
Because with 2 or 3 moves, you can prove that the king doesn't have that many squares to go to.
So there's 2 other options I thought of, which is getting the knight in, because it just looks so nice on b3. But then again, it doesn't do any harm. So...
Well, wait a second, Arne. You were too fast drawing your conclusions.
Oh, no.
Knight a5 was played here.
Oh.
Because what is the idea? If black were allowed to play one more move, probably there would follow queen g6.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Swing over to the other side and take away these squares.
This square is too far away for me.
It's remarkable, yeah, because this is what people forget. With major pieces on the board, you look directly at the king, but with just one switch, you can approach the king from a different angle. Now, Kasparov made a huge mistake. He should have brought its king into safety by playing king b1, and after queen g6, the king can hide on a2.
I see.
But looking at it, it feels a bit scary. Like the queen can still come in, but even if the queen is on b3 later, the knight can no longer come there. So it looks like both the queen and knight are fighting for one square. They cannot be on the same square at the same time. So, well, difficult situation. It was not played. Instead, white played here this move, rook d2 f1. But now white is looking for this move, rook f7, right? He wants to look for its own chances against the black king. But now knight comes into b3 with check, and you're putting pressure against the bishop. So only move here is king to d1. But now there's a beautiful idea. You can play here this move, bishop takes g3. That's a very important move because the knight needs to be eliminated. As long as the knight is on the board, the knight could interfere on the f5 square.
I see.
And the bishop on h4 was kind of useless. So, for instance, if you do take back with the queen, it's queen g6. And next, it's queen to b1. And the king is back in the center and will get checkmated there again. So, therefore... other moves should be considered, but if you do take with the h-pawn, there's also queen g6. And for instance, if you try to stop the mate here with bishop c1, queen b1, threatening mate again, queen takes the pawn on g5 to protect the bishop, but now there's a nice idea of knight takes c1, eliminating the defender, queen takes c1, and of course you're not going to accept the exchange of queens, but instead you play here queen e4, threatening mate on e2. Beautiful. And you're attacking the rook on h1. It's a double attack, and white cannot avoid the loss of material.
That's a killer, yeah.
Yeah, so knight takes g3 is a really strong move, and white is unable to hold everything together.
I wanted to see Kasparov's face now after this move, yeah.
Yeah, well, even a few moves earlier, I don't think he was enjoying himself that much. So, well, he played here rook f7, which sets the strong threat of taking with the queen on d7.
True, yeah.
And Radjabov, well, he had many options. He could protect the knight with its queen, for instance. That's a reasonable idea, but he decided to move the rook away from the open file. It's not a bad idea, because if you do take with the queen on g3, it's queen g6, and the rook is under threat, and queen b1 is still a nice threat as well. So now the rook is no longer on f1. H takes g3 is not even an option, because the rook on h1 is hanging. So white played here the move bishop takes g5. So there's some sort of counterattack now. Yeah, the rook is defending the knight, but the rook is also under threat. But here again, it's queen g6.
Oh, that's what a game, yeah.
That's the key move, because there's no time to take the rook on d8 because of queen b1 with checkmate again. And I'm not sure what else should be played here, but okay, Kasparov played queen f5. You need to stop this mating threat on b1. But now the queens are coming off the board, and rook is hanging, but you can just move the rook away to f8, initiate more exchanges, and note that white can still not regain the piece by taking on g3. Yeah, that's one of the main problems. Now after rook takes f8, don't take with the rook, because then the bishop can be captured, obviously. But there is knight takes f8. So you maintain this pin on the h file. Black is a piece up. Okay, white has two bishops, and there's not that much material left on the board. So if white would play a move like h4, black still has to work, I think, to convert the advantage. But there followed bishop f3, and now very nice technique by Radjabov as he played here the move bishop h4. So the idea is that he wants to exchange bishops. If white would go here for bishop takes h4, rook takes h4, there's no time to take the pawn on d5 because of knight takes d4.
And no checks. Yeah.
No checks, c takes d4, it's rook takes d4, and the bishop can be taken on the next move.
That's cute.
Right, so bishop h4, white kept the dark squared bishop on the board, and now black's pieces are about to become active. So knight d7 played, pawn on d5 can be taken, but okay, white is having two pawns for the piece, but black is getting the initiative. He hits the rook, with the rook he hits the bishop on e3. If you move the bishop to f4, it's something like rook f8, and next the rook will come in to the second rank.
Unpleasant.
And then everything can be captured as well. So bishop h6 was played to prevent the rook from entering at the moment, but now another very spectacular move played by Radjabov. It's knight dc5. Beautiful shot, with the idea that if the knight is taken, it's rook d8, and you get rid of this annoying bishop due to the pin along the d file.
So how many times did Radjabov sacrifice, or at least offer the knight in this game? 2 or 3 times?
It's interesting. Yeah, you sacrifice material, it counts as a sacrifice, but the opponent declines it, and then you continue. But there's only one piece difference, but it felt like Radjabov sacrificed really a lot of pieces in this game. He's taking over the initiative, as now the knight cannot be taken, and the knight is on his way to d3. So there followed bishop f7, counterattacking the rook. The rook goes to e7, hitting the bishop. Bishop went to h5, and now the knight went to d3, and here Kasparov had seen enough.
Yeah.
Because you have huge threats like knight f2, knight takes b2 is an idea. Also, sometimes you got to reckon with rook h7 as a move when the bishops are on the same file. So there are too many tactics, and black is also having a powerful initiative. So yeah, this was 15-year-old Teimour Radjabov beating one of the greatest players of all time in a very impressive manner. So I wanted to show this game because it felt a bit unfair to remember how strong Radjabov was at some point. And he's now suffering quite a lot with rating-wise, at least.
Yeah, he might cut back, who knows. But yeah, what an impressive game. I didn't know it. It's the first time I saw it. Very, very nice underdog win indeed. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Robert. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Check out Fast and Furious show, and check out, of course, the YouTube channel of Robert if you haven't done so yet, because so many games are in-depth analyzed. It's a lot of fun to watch it. So do that,
Thanks
and
a
we
lot.
will see each other soon enough. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.